should have brought a lasso, Amy.
Do you just have one lying around?
Well, I mean, we probably had time. We knew about this a while ago. And we're gonna announce next week's theme, which is a surprise to us as well. We also don't know what it is.
Hey guys, welcome to the Comics Hall. I'm Amy.
I'm Paul.
And this is us back true to form. We've got lots of cool comic book news for you guys today. Some updates as we get a bit of a pulse going from the world of comic book shipping. But first, we have a really cool little giveaway we'd like to announce for you today.
We sure do. Hi, everyone. We're going to be giving away the 6-scale Wonder Woman comic concept from our good friends over at Hot Toys. This is a really, really great piece. And the way that this is going to work is we are going to announce a secret word later on in the show. It's not going to be written anywhere. We're just going to say it. And what that secret word does is it allows you 1,000 extra entries to win this Wonder Woman 6-scale comic concept. Now, afterwards, towards the end of the show, we're going to drop the link that you can all follow to input that secret word on. It's going to be a Gleam link, and it'll be like side.show/something. But you're not allowed to know what it is yet. But we'll let you guys all know about that a little bit later. But, we do have a lot of news to get to, Amy.
Yes, and after that, we did pick a very special theme today because we're still not quite back to new comic book shipping regularly, but we're super, super excited about the eventuality of Wonder Woman 84 coming out in theaters. So we did want to give you guys kind of a tips and tricks primer of really good Wonder Woman stories to hit up before that.
Oh, yeah.
But first, huge news this week. First of all, it is a amazing week for our indie darlings from Vertigo Comics. First of all, just this morning, hot off the presses, Audible has announced an audio drama, Audible exclusive, of The Sandman, Neil Gaiman's kind of magnum opus comic that everybody loves, with an incredible voice cast. It's almost like Sandman done as a radio show. And as is my understanding, it's going to cover the first 3 volumes of the graphic novel. And if it does well enough, I'm sure they will eventually produce all of it. It is available for pre-order on UK and US Audible websites. I'm not familiar with the Audible service, so I don't know how you pre-order, but it will be launched on July 15th. And just in case you don't understand why we're so excited about this, first of all, it's Sandman. Everybody take your moment to get excited about Sandman. But the voice cast includes James McAvoy as Morpheus himself, Kat Dennings as Death, Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, who scares me to death, Michael Sheen, last seen in Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, playing Lucifer. He's traded his angel wings for something else. And Neil Gaiman is going to be the narrator, and Andy Serkis is going to be Matthew the Crow. Other voices include Taron Egerton, Bebe Neuwirth, Arthur Darvill, Joanna Lumley, and more. And Neil Gaiman has promised that no characters are getting left out. You can see the full announcement graphic on his Twitter. There are over 40 voice actors that are going to be included in this project, and it is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it looks so rad, and I think it's coming at the perfect time where you can kind of sit back and be as ethereal and weird as possible, as this comic was meant to be enjoyed. I mean, I'm all on board for anything Arthur Darvill as well. Kat Dennings, that whole cast is going to be fantastic. I mean,
Kat Dennings as Death. I know everybody probably has their own very specific version of Morpheus and of Death, but I think I'm willing to give this a shot. It looks phenomenal. The cast is absolutely stacked, and I know that Marvel has been beginning to do some audio dramas, but those are original, almost prose-like stories involving their characters. They did a Thor one. They're doing a Jessica Jones. But if this does well, this could really influence future big-budget adaptations and audio dramas of famous graphic novels, which is really, really cool possibility.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different books out there that I mean, I didn't even think about this beforehand. I'm going to just do this to both of us live on air here. I'm thinking of other stories that I would love to see adapted like that. I mean, there are so many. I mean, if you're out there, whether you're watching, I mean, we're live everywhere. We're on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook twice in the group and on the page, YouTube, all over, MySpace, MSN, the little, what do you call it? The search engine. The old search engine.
We're also streaming in Morse code if you still
we are. Yeah, we've got just a bat signal up somewhere, the only drive-in movie theater. But yeah, let us know, are there any comics that you can think of, or maybe even novels? We are a comic book show, so let's say comics, but comics that you would love to see also adapted as like an audio drama. I mean, there are
Novels of the graphic persuasion.
novels of the graphic persuasion, yes.
I
Uh,
mean, my first answer for that, until we get an adaptation of it, is straight up The Wicked and the Divine. Always, always, always give
oh
me
yeah,
something. And I think that could be really cool with the large cast of gods, especially as singers. Like we could
right.
get a little bit of their musical flair. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I would love to see maybe some of the earlier, oh, no. Yeah, Wicked and Divine was probably my first answer. You know what would be great to be adapted would be Sweet Tooth. How great would that be?
Wow, someone should really get on that. Those
Ever
Vertigo
the
comics are a gold mine.
ever the professional segue. So I'll be honest, I wasn't even aware that Sweet Tooth was going to be adapted to live action, but we did get news yesterday that Netflix and Robert Downey Jr. are partnering to bring us Sweet Tooth, the Vertigo comic by Jeff Lemire, to live action. We don't have a date. We do have, I believe, right after they had casting rumors of folks that could potentially play certain roles. Nothing by those specific sources has been confirmed, but we do know that we are getting a Sweet Tooth adaptation for Netflix, and Robert Downey Jr. is involved as a producer.
Yeah,
Uh,
and along with his wife,
right? Yeah,
Susan. Yeah.
because they've done other things before, but I think this might be the largest project that they've done thus far.
Yeah, and this is really exciting. I mean, Netflix especially has been pulling from a wealth of independent comic kind of darlings like the Umbrella Academy. I know October Faction unfortunately was canceled, but that was another
Right.
big independent comic that they are choosing to adapt. And so this is a fabulous time because again, we always joke that if you took a dart to a dartboard or to the comic book store and you threw
Yeah.
it, one of whatever book you hit is probably already in development for a series or a film. So that's really exciting that Netflix is continuing uh, to delve into that realm.
Yeah, I mean, after the success of like the Umbrella Academy, I think to me, I think Umbrella Academy specifically for Netflix, kind of kicked open that door for them to be like, well, hey, I think these comic books are, beneficial, and they just see dollar signs everywhere they walk.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of these stories are already written well. They've already have a fan base. I think it really just takes a very careful and creative hand to adapt something like that, which I wouldn't even begin to know where. And I'm not the right person to ask because I love everything that's comic books. Because me, I mean, if you're watching, and I know me and Amy specifically, we grew up in a time where we weren't getting any comic book movies, and we would get Ben Affleck's Daredevil, and I lost my mind. I thought that was awesome, and just small stuff like that. So just keep the comic book content coming.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So speaking of weird kind of shifts in comic book content, Marvel has announced that they are closing their digital comic store on June 2nd of this year. Now, we have previously mentioned that as a resource for you to purchase digital comics, but don't be alarmed. This is distinct from the Marvel Unlimited library service, and they are not shuttering your personal digital library. If you already have purchased books or redeemed digital copies, they are not shutting that down. You will still be able to redeem digital copies off of physical books, and you can merge your account with Comixology if you have a Comixology account. They're not deleting your comics. They are just no longer selling their own books through their website, which, seems like a big deal because Marvel has been doing this for a long time, but this is something that
Mhm.
historically DC hasn't been doing. So it's not like the industry is toppling. I don't know how to react to this news. I don't know if it's more beneficial for the comic book retailers who are they don't want to compete directly with the publisher. They want to enable the books, but Comixology is still thriving and selling these
Yeah,
books. So I think it's just a consolidation of like, here is the big digital comics resource. It is Comixology, and then you can get your physical books. I think it's more of a narrowing the audience, not distracting people with like multiple streaming services. It's just kind of a consolidation.
right.
On that note, though, you still can purchase some digital books from Marvel, and the 13th, which is today, and the 20th, which is next Wednesday, are they're doing like a soft launch of a couple of mini series only in digital. The issues will then later be reprinted in trade. There's no definite conclusion whether there's going to be single issues for these.
Mhm.
The bummer is these are all issues that happen in the middle or end of miniseries. And so if you do want to read the issues, you have to buy the digital singles. Otherwise, you're going to have to spend money for the entire trade paperback because you're not going to get these physical issues. I will give you an example.
Right.
Hawkeye Freefall #5 is coming out next week, I believe.
Yes.
That is the last issue of that miniseries. If you've collected 1 through 4 so far, you're going to be without #5 unless you pick up the trade or get it digitally. These other issues that they're doing this with include Avengers of the Wastelands, Star, Ghost Spider, and a few others, mostly that were limited mini series. This sucks for me because I've got Star, Avengers, and Hawkeye Freefall, and now
Right.
I've got issues 1 through 3, 1 through 4 of each of those series, and they're possibly not going to be printing the single issues. I don't know what to do about that, but it'll be an interesting story someday in my comic book collection where they're like, why is there a gap here? Why did the series never finish? Well, kids, in the days of the plague.
Let me you mean it? You were there? I was there, and I was doing some show with some weird kid, and here we are.
Here we are. But so you can still access digital comics for a limited time through the Marvel store. That will be done as of June 2nd.
Yeah, and it's really funny. Speaking of opening up the digital library there, not only have me and Amy been using the DC Universe app constantly, we were already using it, but now it seems so much more important. And I think since this whole uh, plague and quarantine has happened, there was an article. This wasn't even really on our news to cover, but I thought it was so interesting. I messaged Amy yesterday that their readership went up 35% because between February and April, because of quarantine. And I think it's just further proof, to anyone that says, and they are out there that say like, oh well, why are we still even printing comics, or why are they making so many like, people want comic books. And now that's a perfect example to me that like people will go get them anywhere, any way that they can, as long as you're doing it by the book, as long as you're buying them or
Buy the
subscribing,
book. Buy the book.
buy the book or subscribe to an actual service like Marvel Unlimited or DC Universe app or Comixology. But yeah, we had a ton of people in the comments already. Oh yeah, sorry, everyone had mentioned, yes, my headphones keep coming in and out of frame. I'm not actually at the Hall of Justice today. I took the day off. This is a Zoom background, so you'll see it come in and out awkwardly there. But yeah, I asked some folks, what are you guys all reading? And we had some pretty interesting answers already. A lot of it seems like a lot of DC already. Some people are reading Sandman, which is perfect because of the news we did just get to cover there. I mean, a lot of people saying mostly DC stuff, and a lot of it appears to be on the DC Universe app. And I agree with that, because not only now have they introduced a reward system, which is super cool. Which I don't want to brag, but I've already got like 15 tokens, Amy.
Well, yeah, the reading we did for this week with the Wonder Woman stuff was just racking up the points. So Sean M did mention in our YouTube chat, they do have a rewards point system, which is basically loyalty. Marvel has a similar thing with Marvel Insider, but through the DC Universe app, you can earn points to redeem for physical or digital prizes based on watching the shows, reading a comic all the way through, just engaging with the interface, and you can redeem them for really cool things. Including extensions on your subscription to DC Universe. In the comments, Arya Dworkin, he is a guest contributor to our blog. He wrote an exceptional article called The Quarantine Reading List, and it was a list of more than just DC or Marvel, a number of comics that are kind of really good reads right now, based on the type of escapism they offer or the protagonists, what they're fighting against. And that did get shared on Jeff Smith's official page, because Bone was one of the books that was recommended in there. So you guys should definitely check out that article. We're putting out a lot of recommended reading lists on the Let Your Geek Side Show blog, including one that we're going to be talking about today, which was Dana Marquez's 5 comics you should read before Wonder Woman 1984.
Right. Which is funny, because when we asked earlier, what books would you like to see be adapted into an audio drama. One of them was Kingdom Come, which we are definitely going to be
Oh.
getting into a little bit later.
Oh.
I am now upset that that was not my like initial answer, and I failed, and I don't deserve to be on this show anymore. So thank you. But yeah, I would love Kingdom Come. We're going to get into Kingdom Come a little bit later because as far as our essential reading for our Wonder Woman / Wonder Woman 84 themed episode, we definitely, me and Amy both read Kingdom Come, but we have a little bit more news.
Yeah, a little bit more to cover. I know a lot of people are talking about the DC books they are reading. That may be due in part to the fact that, as you guys might know, DC did begin distributing early. They went through an alternate distributor after Diamond announced their voluntary shutdown. And DC Comics has now officially approved the Tuesday sale of the Tuesday sale of all their books that are received either through Diamond or Lunar. They said that publishers may continue to or not publishers, retailers may continue to experience or offer the Wednesday new comic book day, but because the books do ship out a little early, they are clear to sell DC books on Tuesdays if that helps spread out the days that people can come pick up their books. So that's pretty interesting because it's been 2 decades of Wednesday releases, but I think they're adapting to the current moment. So you can get your books on Tuesday if your store is offering them, but please, as always, continue to practice safe social distancing practices. See if they have shipping available or curbside pickup. Do not rush to your stores at this time because there are still a lot of shelter-in-place rules going on. But Tuesdays are now a viable day if your store is participating to get your DC books.
Yeah, a lot of I know there's a lot. I mean, depends on how you operate with your shop, but what I recommend is open up a pull list at your local comic book shop and go through any means to which you communicate with them to kind of pre-order these books before like the FOC for the final order cutoff date for a lot of these books, and have them stock them up for you. I know that's not ideal, but I do know that right now I am doing that, which I wouldn't normally do. I wouldn't normally stock up my pool, but it saves me having to, go every week. And if a lot of you are more comfortable that way, maybe pick up, because DC books, and then when Marvel starts coming out, they're going to be, they're going to be sparingly coming out. It's not going to be the big book haul that we normally would get on a new comic book day. But, DC is coming out with maybe 8 or 9 books. I think 2 weeks ago when this all started when they were distributing with Lunar, it was, I think they only released like 6 books.
Yeah, and I believe
individual titles.
Marvel is also doing between 6 or 8. Diamond is technically still on track. They have asserted that they are still aiming for a May 20th date to begin shipping books, but most every publisher has reevaluated their publishing line, and they're withholding some of the books that are ready to go so that they can slowly disperse prepared content and buy themselves more time to create and adjust their schedule in the wake of all of this. Because if they released every single book all at once, it would burden the stores, it would burden the readers, and then they would run out of usable content.
Right. Yeah, and I think also, as unfortunate it is, because, if you guys are new to the Comics Hall, first of all, welcome. Hello. We are Sideshow's best and favorite comic book show. It's funny because, the more and more me and Amy have been doing the show, the more I've been like geared towards reading Marvel. And now, of course, like every Marvel title that I've caught up on and I want to read has been pushed back. Especially all of like that great I just went to Justice League already, but the Avengers and the Daredevil run and everything.
I just caught up on Daredevil and I slammed through Lois Lane, and I am ready for more Greg Rucka. I mean, I got a little bit of a taste of that when going back with the Wonder Woman, The Lies, but I have put an order down for Stumptown because I need more of that like hard investigative kind of style from Greg Rucka. Last couple of news pieces we've got. Black Widow has received an official UK release date of October 28th, which is a whole week before the US's anticipated November 6th release date. We'll see if these dates have to change once again, but movies do tend to release a little earlier in the UK anyways, so this shouldn't be a massive surprise, but it will be a bit of a sting to those who would have been probably seeing Black Widow for the 5th time this weekend already. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but at least there's a date we can shoot for on those films.
Right. And just avoid social media for a full week, guys. Just do it.
It's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, just go ahead and and go up to like Ron Swanson's cabin where he isolates himself and just pop your head out like a groundhog, November 6th.
Now, Paul, do you want to tell us what there's a bunch of DC television
There
stuff.
is, yeah. I was gonna say, we'll kind of, lump all this news in because we've gone approximately 10 minutes over what we allotted ourselves, AV.
For news.
Of
Hey, we
course,
haven't we
because
haven't started the show with the news for a while, so
I
there's a
know
lot to catch up on.
it feels good to flex the old comics hall muscles. But yeah, so there's a ton of news coming out of the DC Universe television, sphere there. First and foremost, Doom Patrol is getting a season 2. Interestingly, though, it's releasing simultaneously on DC Universe and HBO Max on June 25th. No, me and Amy had talked about that. We thought that was pretty interesting because also, Stargirl is also premiering. I believe it's next Monday, the
Oh,
18th.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's already
oh
out,
my
and
goodness.
it's also simultaneously releasing on DC Universe and CW. So this is something that they definitely are, I think, toying with, specifically because if they can get as many people engaged in reading and watching as possible, then that it's a benefit to everyone. And I mean, I'm going to be watching it. I mean, I'm really really stoked. And other news as far as CW goes, CW has picked up the rights to Swamp Thing. It doesn't exactly mean that we're getting new content for Swamp Thing just yet.
Especially because no one can be in production right now. So
Exactly. So Swamp Thing is set to be reshown or distributed. I guess we can call it redistributed on
rebroadcast, yeah.
rebroadcasted. Thank you. Amy makes words more gooder than I do. So yeah, so it is set to be rebroadcast on the CW in full. Which is really interesting because a lot of the DC Universe shows, whether that's Titans or Doom Patrol that we just talked about, or even like Harley Quinn or some of these other shows, they did have a bit more of a more adult content than I think the CW is going for, which is originally why Swamp Thing and all these shows kind of passed on CW. So it'll be interesting to see, how it's rebroadcast, and two, if we do get new Swamp Thing content, or Teen Titans content, or all of these other shows that are going to work simultaneously, how the content itself changes, because a lot of these shows I think lend themselves really well to the grittiness, especially like Titans and Doom Patrol. They're very raw and it's very gritty. To see how it works on CW. So that'll be interesting. I mean, when we
I
find
think
more
I think
news,
Sci-Fi is getting Harley Quinn, but they're going to show it as the censored version, which is like, oh, you do miss a whole chunk of the humor just by bleeping out the swear words.
yeah, I mean, it'll be it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they could do it like how some of the late night TV show hosty where they do like the unnecessary bleeping. Like those are
Yeah.
funny, but I mean the Harley Quinn show itself does is I mean, to me, it's almost a perfect show. I mean, it's fantastic, and a lot of the things that make that show absolutely hilarious, are more R-rated content. So I really hope a lot of
Yeah.
that's not lost when it does get rebroadcast on Sci-Fi, but it may. But they've done some pretty adult stuff. I think it's just it has to be after 10 p.m., I believe, is the actual
Yeah.
cutoff. So
Yeah,
we'll
and
see.
so it seems that these streaming sites are purchasing content that was previously exclusive to a certain distributor like DC Universe because there is no new content being produced right now, but it could expand the viewership. It could encourage more people either to subscribe to DC Universe or these sites that are offering the content first, or give it a broader audience so that they can create more content. But there is no news necessarily about if Swamp Thing will get picked up for
Right.
more. And then finally, our final piece of news, I'm going to wrap these two together because it is about Marvel writers being finished with what they're writing. First of all, this was announced about a week or two ago. Dan Slott is done with Iron Man after 2020 publishes. That
Hmm.
event got kind of suspended because of the voluntary shutdown at Diamond. But as soon as 2020 finishes publishing, Dan Slott is off the book. And there has been
Yeah.
no announcement of who's going to follow him or what he's doing next. But he's kind of making the rounds through the major Marvel characters. I mean, he's had Spider-Man, he's done Iron Man. So who knows what is next for Dan Slott? But for me, I'm most excited. The She-Hulk writers' room has wrapped. The She-Hulk
Yes.
show was set for Disney Plus, was set to begin production this summer, which is obviously probably delayed, but that did mean the writers' room was on track to have the show ready. to start production by this summer. There's been no casting news or anything, so we don't know what's going to happen with that show. But according to writer Dana Schwartz, they have scripted the series as it is right
Yes.
now. So I'm very excited about that. And hopefully we'll get a pulse beat on some Disney Plus television shows
I
soon.
sure hope so. Can't
Yeah,
wait.
you never know.
Oh man. Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thank you. That was our news. We got through that really quickly in only 26 minutes.
Only about half our show. Do we want to
Only
remind people what we've got coming up in terms of both the content and the giveaway?
Yes, so guys, if you are just tuning in, whether you're watching on Instagram Live, hello, I can't see you. I am the one commenting on the Instagram Live channel. So if you guys have any questions, let us know there. But we're live on Instagram Live, Twitch, Facebook, our Facebook group, Let Your Geek Side Show, on YouTube and Twitch as well. So pop in, say hi if you guys have any questions about anything we're talking about, especially now because we do have an entire Wonder Woman show. So if you guys have any awesome Wonder Woman trivia, questions, anything, let us know. But we also have an awesome Wonder Woman comic concept version 6 scale to give away. That's going to come a little bit later. What's going to happen is we are going to release. I say release to make it sound more epic, but we are going to have a secret word that gives you 1,000 extra entries in order to win this Wonder Woman concept 6 scale. And where you put that where you take that secret word is we are going to have a link later on in the show for you to follow. And once you follow that, you put the secret word in, boom, you're entered. And
Yeah, so
apparently we can't win it again, Amy. They told us we cannot win this beautiful, beautiful figure.
darn. Well, yeah, so stay tuned. We got some cool stuff coming up. So we are super excited for Wonder Woman 1984. Like Black Widow, it had to walk its release date back. So we are looking at a fall release for Wonder Woman, but we are like fingers crossed that stays on track. But ahead of that, we wanted to kind of dig into what series would be best to read. Especially since DC Universe readership is up and general comic book readership is still thriving. So this week, to start out, we did ask the fans to decide, not your favorite, what is Wonder Woman's most important tool or weapon? Overwhelmingly, the results.
Easily
Yeah,
doubled.
we gave people the options between the bracelets of submission, the tiara, her sword. We had the golden eagle armor. We had the lasso of truth and the invisible jet. I was hoping that was going to win. But overwhelmingly, you guys chose the lasso of truth is the most important thing in her arsenal.
Yes.
I mean, I agree that I think it's one of the most recognizable symbols of Wonder Woman, where so many other heroes may have a sword or a shield. The lasso is almost uniquely hers.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to her character in general, in that is the most not only recognized, but it's the most important weapon item artifact in her arsenal. In that, the idea of truth to her is so important because she comes from Themyscira in a place that it's by no means a utopia, at all. I mean, there is a ton of issues, even within the politics of the Mascara, but they believe in truth and justice over everything. And I think her being Wonder Woman taking that into man's world, where truth is not at the forefront of everyone's mind there, and that being her most important item, as you've all voted on. It speaks so much to her character.
Yeah, and it does have symbolic ramifications based on her original creation. I know a lot of people were kind of commenting on that in the comments. But it is explicitly a weapon or not a weapon, but a tool to subdue. It's not something that like, oh, she could use it to just defend herself, but she's also going to cut someone's head off with it. Like,
Right.
there's so many different types of weapons in the comic book canon that kind of have dual purposes, but the lasso is to subdue. I mean, it's not a thing that she sets out to kill anyone with. And we did discuss there are some really cool evolutions it's received over the years.
Right.
In Gail Simone's Wonder Woman run, it explored the idea that it not only just most people think it's a lie detector, which it kind of was when it began.
At its core, it was or is.
Yeah, but in Gail Simone's work, it explored the idea that it could somehow see into your soul,
Mhm.
and there was a connection there, and they took that idea again further in the 2016 Wonder Woman run, with issue number 55, where you actually see her wrap it around Artemis, and they go into the soul space, and kind of Diana has a conversation, and they're like, "We are in your soul, and let's talk about this because I want to compel you to tell the truth and do the right thing."
Right, and, the fallout from that moment in Wonder Woman 55 is to me, it's really important because not only is that kind of an entirely new, ideology that the lasso of truth or the golden perfect, as it's also come to be known as, um, it's an entirely new idea of what the golden perfect or the lasso of truth can do, and it kind of makes it a lot more interesting to me to think about moments when her lasso of truth. I'm just gonna probably call it the lasso of truth the rest of the show, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's fine.
When the lasso of truth does, it is compelling someone to speak the truth, that whole little bit, like my brain likes to kind of work backwards and think of all the different times that it's wrapped around like dark side and stuff, and trying to imagine that micro conversation happening inside the truth space, or the
Yeah,
ever the yeah so
because
I
it
mean
adds another layer to Diana's character of being the person who fights for justice instead of saying, "I have a thing that's gonna make you tell the truth because it is magical and you can't withstand it." But
right.
now the idea that it's like, "I'm going to subdue you long enough for us to have a soul-searching conversation that will ultimately result in a peaceful exchange of the truth or the answers that I'm looking for." Like, it adds another depth to that power.
Right, and I think, one of the most important things to me about the lasso of truth is that when it was created, it was basically, created at a time that, uh, it was believed that, like, kinda how we went over a little bit earlier, that this is Wonder Woman's most important tool, is that, like, bringing truth to light, is the most important thing that you can do for folks, and without it being physically a weapon, Wonder Woman has beaten the likes of, like, Ares by just having him tell the truth and feel the weight of, like, all of his crimes and everything. I believe that was in Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman in the New 52, Wonder Woman actually defeats when she actually defeats Ares, that it's just his, like, the weight of everything he had done, all of that, over the years or eons that he had been Ares, it just crushed him. And it
Yeah.
literally just put him out of commission. And that's just like, it's such a symbolic moment. And it's such a very Wonder Woman uh, moment that I think is only possible with Wonder Woman. And it really adds to the I think the mystical element that I think is kind of lost on Wonder Woman a lot. They see her as, of course, she's a formidable warrior, and I've always said for years, I've been reading DC Comics my whole life. I think she is the secret, like, inadvertent leader of the Justice League. Hot take. That's not a comics hot take. That's a Paul take. But I've always thought that she really is the backbone of the Justice League, to
Mhm.
me, because not only is she kind of on the better and the worst sides of some of these heroes, but she's also the only one who can physically take every single superhero in the Justice League. And I love how much Wonder Woman can like flip the switch from being, peace and truth, and she's just like, well, putting golden eagle armor on, that means we're going to war.
Well, yeah, I don't wanna get too far ahead of myself, but, it's a very interesting conversation that she has with Batman in Kingdom Come when he's saying, "Oh, the Amazon adage, force peace. You're a warrior who fights for peace. Where do we draw the line there?" So the inspiration for this show, we wanted to, take a look at a couple of comic books that we think are kind of really good essential reads. I mean, I read them and then rewatched the '84 trailer, and it blew my
Right.
mind just how much more I understood, having refreshed myself on those comics. So you can check it out on the Let Your Geek Side Show website, geeksideshow.com. Uh, Guest writer Dana Marquez recommended 5 specific storylines or single issues, specifically Wonder Woman: The Lies, if you're looking to know about more Cheetah, and that was from the DC Rebirth run that launched in 2016.
Yes.
Kingdom Come, the iconic Kingdom Come. If you want to know what the heck the Golden Eagle armor even is, Justice League Generation Lost. For if you're looking for some real like who the heck is Maxwell Lord and why is he such a bad guy. Wonder Woman Volume 1, there's some classic great moments, but she recommends, I believe, number 329 if you want to see some classic Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman romance. From that, I also recommend 255 just to see her literally lassoing a lightning bolt, which does happen in the movie trailer.
It's really rad.
And then Batman and Robin, actually, The Hunt for Robin. If you want to get familiar with the Chaos Shards, which is something that I didn't even notice the first time I saw the trailer, but going back, Maxwell Lord's whole rhetoric is about like you can have everything you ever wanted. You just gotta wish for it and you just gotta want it. And then he pulls out this rock looking thing. And the Chaos Shards are, I believe, apocalyptic pieces that can grant wishes on a cosmic scale. So that might play into why Steve Trevor's back and why all these strange, like, how is this happening in this Wonder Woman context? Things are going to come up.
And it's funny, a lot of those the shards that are introduced are again, depending on how comic books go. So depending on the iteration that you're reading, a lot of them are basically residue from when the mother boxes were casted. So, and they're not exactly apocalyptic, but a lot of times they're like hardened residue from like boom tubes that are opened up from Apocalypse. So it's really cool to see.
That's one of my favorite. Like everything's got a really cool technical name, and then there's boom tube.
Yep, boom tube. And the reason that that's important is because in Justice League, in some of these other movies in the DCEU that we've seen people, we've seen soldiers from Apocalypse, and we've seen apocalyptic technology on Earth. And if that's kind of the direction that they're going, there very well could be residue from a boom tube or a mother box or something to explain these shards that Maxwell Lord has, who's very much like a proto Gordon Gekko, greed is good type. But speaking of segues, thanks, Amy. So everyone, the secret word for our giveaway for the Wonder Woman 6-scale comic concept is, and this is going to shock you all, Amazon. Now, Amazon, hold on to that secret word. It's going to be Amazon spelled as is, but it's all capitalized. And you would think I wouldn't have to say it. No spaces in the word Amazon. Just don't. So there is going to be a link for you all to follow a little bit later. It's going to be a link that will take you to it's called Gleam. You don't have to sign up for any of that or anything at all. And that secret word is going to get you 1,000 extra entries in order to win the 6-scale comic concept Wonder Woman. It's great.
All right. So without further ado, let's kind of dig in. Especially because I mean, we've even seen like I think Hot Toys has released some Cos Babies, and Iron Studios has done some pieces. The Golden Eagle armor is getting its big cinematic debut, and a lot of people are like, "What the heck is going on?" That made its debut in Kingdom Come, which is an incredible kind of future dystopia look at what happens when Superman steps down and yields the way for a bunch of renegade metahumans who think they know best and think that they're the gods on Earth. And that was created by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It's one of those things when you mentioned to me, you began rereading it and you were like, this is dense. Oh, that's right. It's Mark Waid and Alex Ross. Yeah. It is such a visually and narratively dense story that it's amazing to realize it's only 4 issues long.
Yeah, and it's a shame that those two kids never did any other great comic books, right? I mean, it's Alex Ross and Mark Waid. If you're out there watching, we would love to see you guys come. Anyway, I mean, they're legends, but
and this book I think is one of those like exemplars of like a legendary comic book made by legendary people about legendary characters.
Yeah, that's
grappling with humanity as well.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so fantastic. And I think when I was pacing at night, worrying about how I'm going to tie in Wonder Woman 84 to Kingdom Come, I thought about how perfect it is that like now I think at this point in Wonder Woman 84, I don't believe that people know maybe Wonder Woman is a god or kind of her whole deal yet. We don't know, but I do love the idea of that, how in Kingdom Come, humanity is so afraid of these gods that when the world was kind of and again, guys, major spoilers here for Kingdom Come. The book's been out for a while, so if you haven't
And
read it,
you can read it on the DC Universe app, or it is available in trade. It is basically
yes,
one of the greatest kind of selling DC comic books of the
yeah.
modern age.
I mean, when you guys, if you took you did a quick Google for Kingdom Come, the cover is recognizable instantly. It's just one of those books. It's it's funny to me in Kingdom Come how much more progression there is, not necessarily in the story, but in the tension once mankind realizes that, oh, Superman and the Justice League are coming back. Where they were perfectly fine with letting these younger heroes kind of screw the world up a little bit, or kind of just take justice into their own hands, because it was a bit of controlled chaos and they knew at any moment that these young buck superheroes, that they were really, they were selfish, and that their moment that their I'm sorry, their the destruction they were causing, it was almost like recreational. I think there's even a moment, right? I mean, in the comic where they're saying they sometimes they just do it for fun. They just fight for
Yeah.
fun.
There's a sequence with a new kind of upstart guy named Americommando and his Minutemen, and
Right.
they're they're going after and they're redefining. They're like, well, we stand for America, and here's what we think that means, which is interesting then when you compare it to Superman's truth, justice, and the American way. Like, what does that mean versus this new guy who's like, well, it's been 20 years, Superman is old, I'm what's America now. But mostly interesting, I think, is Wonder Woman doesn't play a massive role until about issue 3. You see her
Right.
constantly, and she's the person who tries to bring Superman back from his self-imposed exile. He's lost Lois Lane. The Joker killed a bunch of people,
Hmm.
and it's this Superman who's very disillusioned with what they used to stand for, and is realizing he's kind of obsolete and that the world is getting away from them. And so Wonder Woman becomes his second in command and really takes on a warrior attitude.
Yeah.
In the name of peace. And so we get that interesting dichotomy where there's a conversation that Batman has with her where he says, yes, okay, Amazons, they believe that you should force peace. You train as
Hmm.
warriors in order to impose a rule of peace. And so you see a lot of that ideology that plays out across all the superheroes, where it's like they cause massive collateral damage in the name of protecting everybody. And it's just a
Right.
very interesting um it's such a philosophical but also political story in that world. I loved seeing Lex Luthor's little boardroom of all the like old baddies and
Yeah.
um
The
eh,
the it's saying it's the Mankind Future Foundation,
Welfare Foundation or
Welfare
something like
Foundation.
that.
Um,
It's yeah, it's fascinating to see these people go like, well, we're humans, but we're slightly more than humans. Like we know what's best for us, not these gods.
right, and it's and again, I think, once you start progressing into Kingdom Come, there's a like a press conference that is held, and Superman speaks, and he basically says we are going to enforce peace whether you like it or not, because how it is right now is just not working. And I kind of love, to me, that's my favorite part. Those are my favorite superhero stories, is when they realize, like, they have to battle with who they really are and who they are doing this for. There's a great line in Kingdom Come, and it's actually in issue 4, where he's the pastor. I don't remember his name.
Norman McKay.
Norman McKay, thank you. He's speaking to Superman, and he says, at one point you began to focus more on the super and less on the man aspect of your whole mantra, and that's when the world became what it was, and I need you basically to flip that. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's a great story
yeah,
just for that specifically.
highly recommended. And so if you're wondering where the Golden Eagle armor comes into it, there is a big showdown at a supervillain prison that Superman has designed now to basically contain every one of the new upstarts, because they're deemed as supervillains. They're not heroes. They're just renegades who are doing what they want. The armor itself was forged by the gods for Wonder Woman, along with a sword that can split the electrons off of an atom. It actually cuts Superman and he starts to
Yeah.
bleed. That's how sharp it is.
I
Um,
love how I love when she's like, "Well, you've always been impervious to magic, Clark." That's a great
yeah.
line.
It's and that becomes a huge crux of the ending. I don't want to necessarily spoil that because we do want to
Right.
focus on Wonder Woman, but she does become a mythical commander, and you do learn that she was exiled from Themyscira because she is meant to change the man's world, but
Right.
the Amazons believe that the man's world changed her.
Mhm.
But it does all come around nicely at the end, in the way that they all reconcile. But when the heroes learn to de-emphasize the super and and revel in their humanity and understand that, like, they're not gods, they want to live among the people. And then you get some really cute, I love the epilogue. Actually, there's versions with and without the epilogue,
Right.
but the DC universe does have the epilogue, plus a bonus scene that takes place on Apocalypse with Orion,
Yeah.
that are included and not included in some versions. But you really get a sense of the, like, this is the Wonder Woman who has fully embraced the I'm a warrior, and going along with what Superman said, the I will enforce peace no matter
Mhm.
what. Which isn't what we see in a lot of modern adaptations of Wonder Woman, but it is one way that it could go if she were to continue on the path that she is right now. Now, I think this is a good place to, before we end up spoiling all of Kingdom Come for
I know.
everybody. Um, Segueing into the other series that we thought was really important, because the first Wonder Woman movie really drew from kind of the New 52 and also classic iterations of Wonder Woman,
Right.
where you can see a lot of kind of crossover and similarity potential is with the DC Rebirth version of Wonder Woman that came out in 2016, headed towards this film. We see the inclusion of Barbara Ann Minerva as Cheetah, and
Mhm.
we see a lot of similarities in, like, the mystery and, like, how did she is she losing Themyscira? What is she now?
Right.
Um, so the arc you want to follow, because the release was really interesting for this book. You want to follow the arc called The Lies, which is issues 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, and 11. It was releasing twice a month, but the even numbered books were year one with Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 are the kind of
The
Wonder Woman year one.
Mhm.
And that deals a lot with how she came to Man's World, how she met Steve Trevor. Um, it came out a little too close to the original movie to, I think, influence it too much. Um, but issue number 8 does have a really great backstory for Barbara Ann Minerva, which is what we could probably be seeing in the film. But The Lies specifically kind of deals with her relationship with Cheetah, her relationship with Steve Trevor,
Right.
and her relationship with the modern world, and what in the movie trailer, she says nothing good comes from lies. So there might be some potential for that. But I think it's really interesting. I really enjoyed The Lies. I actually only read the year one story when it was originally coming out,
Hmm.
because I wanted Greg Rucka's take on her origin.
Right.
Um, but in The Lies, Diana learns that there have been so many different versions of her backstory, she doesn't even know which one is the truth. And
Right.
very interestingly, in the one shot that preceded the launch of the series, she wraps the lasso of truth around her arm and says, "Who am I?" And she says, "You're Diana, daughter of Themyscira, blah, blah, blah," all the stuff she knows. She keeps it on her wrist and she says, "What am I?" And it
Yeah.
forces this exploration of herself, and she admits to herself that she's been deceived and she doesn't know what the truth of her own story is anymore, which I think is fascinating that she can even use it to her on herself in that effect. Um, kind of kind of showing that it is an important tool not only for others, but to keep herself in check.
Right, and I think a lot of what The Lies, does so well is it shows, I mean, maybe human like, it shows really well that, uh, Wonder Woman is so she has a sense of humility, especially when it comes to, Cheetah, when it comes to Barbara Ann Minerva, because I think she feels like she failed her, because Cheetah holds this huge grudge against Wonder Woman. Again, it's for there's a god involved in the lie.
Urs Kartaga,
Urs
who is,
Kartaga,
I
yes.
think that's consistent because this isn't the first time we've had a Barbara Ann Minerva
Right.
origin story. But basically, she was an archaeologist who went to a dig site and they found this kind of
Mhm.
temple ruin to a god who required a virgin sacrifice to become his bride and who would become powerful and strong. But because Barbara Ann Minerva was not a virgin sacrifice, she was
Right.
punished and warped into this terrible cheetah monster with the strength and endurance that was promised to the bride of Urs Kartaga. But she has this horrible, monstrous cat form and a lust for human
For
flesh.
man flesh. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and
it's
and it's really tragic, and I actually, I grabbed, from the DC
oh,
Universe
great.
whoops, um, Wonder Woman, this is a scene from issue number 3 of The Lies, where Wonder Woman is saying, like, "You're" Barbara Ann Minerva says, "You were my friend and you failed me," and Wonder Woman says, "I have never stopped being your friend."
Right.
And basically she says, "I love you. I still love you as a friend," which is interesting because the first conversation we see of them in the movie trailer is Barbara Ann Minerva asking Wonder Woman, "Have you ever been in love?"
Right.
But Cheetah says here, "I hate you." And Wonder Woman says, "Love can exist with hatred,
Mhm.
often preying on the other."
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting idea of her character. Later in that series, I believe in issue 7 or 9, um, she tells Steve Trevor, "I believe in love." And so it's this idea
Oh,
that
right.
love and hate are natural parts of the world, but Wonder Woman chooses to believe in love, even though they just because one exists doesn't mean the other can't as well. You can love and hate people in tandem.
Right.
Um, and I think it's a really good story of it's fascinating to see, like, okay, what continuity, what do we believe is true of Wonder Woman, and what is the truth that she's looking for herself.
And I think what's really important also that we can take away from The Lies, story by, Liam Sharp and, Greg Rucka, is the relationship like, she has a very tentative and strange relationship with Steve Trevor, where it's always, "We could be, but we won't be." And I think that's really, really important because it's kind of well, one, I love I'm waiting to get, the nickname for Diana, where he just like I've always loved in every Wonder Woman comic I've ever read that he just calls her Angel, and she hates it. It's not so much explored in The Lies, I think, because it's pretty established, but she hates when he calls her an angel because one, she doesn't believe that she's an angel, and two, it kind of goes against her, personal because she comes from gods. So she,
It's actually established as her code name that Steve Trevor and Etta Candy in their military capacity, they like you would refer to someone as Eagle 1 or Eagle 2, it's like she's Angel, that's her code name.
right.
Um, and there's a really interesting part, they kind of leave it on a cliffhanger, for the series, but there's in issue 13 of that kind of it's I think that one's called Between the Lies and Truth, so it's like the one that comes after the
Oh,
conclusion of The Lies in year 1.
right.
Um, she forgets herself because she
Yeah.
realizes that nothing she knows is true. So she doesn't know what to think. And Wonder Woman kind of kind of has a mental break and can't figure out who she is or what she
Yeah.
believes in anymore.
And I mean, the entire story run of, The Lies, and I mean, even year 1 really wrapping that into it, is it sets up who who Diana Prince is. And I love that issue. I believe it's 12, which is basically the start of, like, one solitary arc. It's either 12 or 13, and the cover is her in a straitjacket.
I think
Uh
that's 13.
it is 13, and it's because it's, everything that she'd known, everything that she stood for were lies, and, it's
Is
great.
she made of clay? Is she the daughter of Zeus? Does she come from Paradise
Right.
Island? Where is it? Does she have a brother? Who knows? That's all things that then get explored throughout that series.
I mean, and I found and I love it because I found, it was, Steve are kind of having that conversation in, like, their casual clothes, and I found it. I mean, and it's honestly just really, really awesome to see, like, these really intimate moments with Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, who live these incredible, incredible lives. and to see them kind of like take a breath, slow down. I love in comics in general when they do that, but I especially love it in this comic because it we had just gotten done with this huge arc of her saving him. I mean, there's a great I think it's literally well, it's technically issue 5, so the second part of the lies where the people on Steve Trevor's strike team are counting down, and Steve Trevor's he's about to die, and sorry, spoilers again, but and they're just like, well, just wait for it in 3, 2, what, and then the next panel is Wonder Woman coming in. They're like that. They basically say, even in a monologue before that, that they know one thing about both of these characters, and when one of them needs the other one will be there.
So it'll be interesting to see how that factors in possibly to the film, if the discussions of love that Barbara Ann Minerva and Wonder Woman are having elicit the idea that she needs Steve. Maybe she doesn't.
Right.
She is an empowered woman, but the idea that the universe will bring them together, and with a chaos shard in the mix, it's not beyond the reasoning to think that maybe that's what her desire is, to see him again.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, nothing good comes from lies. If that's a wish made with the chaos shard, is that actually reality? I actually never read, because I read year 1 when it was coming out, and I read the lies this week, but I never read them back to back. So I'd be interested to hear if anyone actually did read them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or went 1, 3, 5 and 2, 4, 6, etc. Let me know which is the more interesting reading experience, because I believe that Greg Rucka, Nicola Scott covered the year 1, and Liam Sharp did a fabulous job with the lies. But each of those issues does kind of play into one another, because issue 7, I believe, kind of resolves the cheetah situation. But issue 8 then flips us back to an origin for Barbara Ann Minerva. And so it'd be interesting to see how those play in dialogue with one another. And then just for the Wonder Woman fan in your life, The Lies Part 5, there is a fabulous panel, large spread at a mall.
Oh, yes.
The game that you want to play with this is almost every significant writer of a Wonder Woman comic or artist appears as one of the marquees in the mall. The biggest one being Grux, which is obviously Greg Rucka. But there's Brian Boland, Nicola Scott, Phil Jimenez, who's going to be working on Wonder Woman Historia, if that ever comes out from Black Label. I am so excited for that.
Fingers crossed.
Adam Hughes, Perez, Azzarello. There's Mick Sharps, Chang's. And so you can spend at least 10, 15 minutes looking through this spread.
It's such a great panel.
There's the Adam Hughes signature. Yeah, but it's so fabulous. And it's a mall full of people who all came to see Wonder Woman.
Right.
So
it's us.
Yeah, it's us. But essentially, if you're looking to get the kind of current state of Wonder Woman comics and to get a little bit more of a primer on Cheetah, highly recommend Greg Rucka's Rebirth run. You can stop around issue 12 or 13, because beyond that, I don't believe they're going to kind of include that into the movie. But if you are looking for more Wonder Woman content, again, also check out Kingdom Come, available on the DC Universe app. Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It is a master stroke of comic book creation.
Yes.
And check out geeksideshow.com. We have a blog by Dana Marquez for 5 Wonder Woman comics that you need to read before 84. She very expertly lines up what parts of the trailer lead us to believe that these stories will help you understand the film. We're very excited about that. And just the fact that comics are slowly starting to come back, but readership is up on these digital apps, so you still can continue to get your stories there.
Yes.
And hopefully, as the weeks continue, we'll start to have a little bit more news and news stories to be sharing with you. But beyond that, let us know what kind of characters you want to see us do this for. We're definitely going to do a Black Widow one.
Yes.
Because I need to make Paul read the Wade and Somni run. But if nothing else, but let us know what characters, television shows. We can do a Sweet Tooth when it comes up. We could do a Sandman. Let us know what you would like us to cover in this kind of fashion. And we will do our best to bring you that kind of primer content for films and television and stuff.
Primer.
Primer. Yes. Ooh, Yeah. Check out our show from last week where we had Jeff May and Jen Muro, and Jen Muro was talking about her brand new DC hero primer. You can pre-order that book. That will be a new book coming out in June, so that'll be exciting to cover.
So excited.
Well, but yeah, so we'll start to slowly have more comic book news, and I think we have a giveaway to wrap up.
We sure do. I do. I have
or to not wrap up, but to give you guys more information on.
So the secret code word was dropped a little bit earlier. If you're watching this right this second, and you need the code word, you can rewind the stream a little bit later to get that. The Gleam link for you all to follow to input that code word in order to enter for the giveaway has been dropped or is being dropped right now. And just follow that and you guys can enter. And again, that secret code word gives you 1,000 extra entries there. Yeah, and that's for the incredible Wonder Woman comic concept version, 6 scale by our good friends over at Hot Toys. My personal favorite Wonder Woman 6 scale that we have. I love the colors. I love everything about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, combining the movie sensibility and incredible likeness of Gal Gadot with the vibrant colors of classic Wonder Woman. It's kind of a best of both worlds. That is what we're trying to bring you here on the Comics Hall.
Great segue.
Thank you. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us this Wednesday. We're going to catch you next time. Remember, I'm Amy.
I'm Paul.
And this was the Comics Hall.
Boom. Boom. Banter. Comic book banter.
Wonder Woman. Do 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 do. Oh my God! Somebody did a violin cover of that cover of the theme song. So
dude,
good.
Have you read you read Dead Earth, right? Wonder Woman.
No, I didn't.
Oh.